Hello and welcome to FXcast. This is our FXcast market analysis video. In today's video, we will review today's price action. We will look at the daily trend for each currency pair. We will identify key price levels for support and resistance. We will come up with our low volatility watch list. We will also create an insight bar watch list. And finally, we will review our economic calendar to see which releases are coming out that could affect our currency pairs. So let's pull up the charts. We're going to start off with the euro currency, starting off with the euro dollar. And we can see on our daily chart a beautiful uptrend. We can see that by the 20 crossing above the 50 moving average. We could draw a trend line, and we see all of these lovely higher highs. Then we put in a little resistance here as we put in some wicks, but we have broken above those wicks. So that's certainly great. And I would want to watch that price level, which is about, let's bring it in here, these wicks are around 1.4520. What was once resistance is now support. So as I come over to the 60-minute chart, we can see that we consolidated for the past hours here, and our bands are starting to pinch. It doesn't qualify for a low volatility trade yet, but it's setting that up. So, and when we come into that 2-0, we can see that that's right about where the lower band is anyway. So we certainly want to go ahead and watch that. As we get this pullback and consolidate, one thing we can see that the consolidation has done is the consolidation has broken this downtrend move. So now that we're over here, we can possibly get our dual time frame agreement, which is our daily is an uptrend, and now we want our 60-minute uptrend. So the price level I'm going to watch is basically above our wicks here. So, we can look at the 20 moving average here above the wicks around 14571 as a price level to consider as we break higher to test the past swing high on the 60-minute chart. Next, we have the Euro Aussie. And nice short failure here off the 200 moving average. And we've come down. And the one thing about where we've come down is we've come down into the choppiness. So it's going to be a little bit harder specifically to catch a trend. I mean, you can see when we get into this choppiness, there are trades that we can find on an hourly, but it's going to be a little bit harder because it's this choppiness. And we pull back into this choppiness range. Notice that on our 60-minute chart, every time we get to extreme on the top side, it pushes down, makes a new low. This time, however, it did not make a new low. So one thing to watch is, just as we were looking at the euro dollar, is to come over to our trend line here and match them up. And we've got plenty of room here before we even break that. And that's really what I would be waiting for before I would go long as a high probability trade. Really, there isn't one because we have no trend on the daily. And we do have a downturn on the 60-minute, but it certainly is a little bit violent. And it looks like we put in a double bottom here for a move higher. So right now, I will hold off on the Aussie dollar. It has traded back into value. It's traded back into choppiness. I wanted to show us a trend before we really try to identify a trade. Switching to the euro franc, also in the big middle of the range here. Now, we've got this great move here on the 60-minute chart. However, certainly, if we were to throw on a stochastic RSI, MACD, whatever it be, you would probably have an overbought situation here. But more importantly, where are we at? I mean, you can see on the daily, the 20 and the 50 moving average are almost at the same place in parallel and have been that way for a while. So again, just like the Euro Aussie, the Euro Franc, I don't see a high probability trade. Going to the Euro Pound, now here we can see our uptrend, very nice. And we can see a bounce off the 20 here, made a new high, kind of broke the 20, and we possibly are not making a new high. So though we have an uptrend, we have to be cautious. And so we do want to see if we can find dual time frame agreement, and we are sort of getting that right now. But it is aggressive. What I would prefer to do is we can see this is where our last swing high was. Um, I would like to take out some of this red candle that pulled us back to the 20 before I would go long. And I think waiting till we get above our candles from early April might be the place to go. So I want to watch this to go long. It is aggressive to go long. We could also see that potentially there's a low volatility trade being set up. But right now, I'm going to hold off. But this will be a watch list to go long. But no identifiable trade quite yet. Our final one is the Euro Yen, and here we finally did break up. It's been an uptrend, not a clean uptrend, but it is an uptrend. Our last support was held at the 50, and now we're moving higher, and it's sort of a similar situation. Is this going to be a lower high? And you can see the consolidation on the 60-minute. Now here, because it's a little bit more identifiable on the 60-minute, we can see we have a range. Probably a range right about here. And we can put a top of that range right about here. Somewhere in here. So I think breaking of the 20 moving average to go long is something that we should watch. If you can get some other things to confirm that long, if you have another indicator that gives us a dual time frame agreement, long on a daily, long on the 60-minute chart. And now we're switching over to the dollar currency pairs, starting off with the dollar yen. And here, unlike some of the things we saw with the euro, even though we've broken into the value area, there's clearly a range going on here. As I'm drawing it in for you, there's clearly a range. We are getting towards the bottom of that value, so I would want to watch that. Even that as we switch over to the 60-minute, there's some things going on here also. So I would want to watch that, and we can see our band starting to pinch. So I think something is setting up here. Either we're going to bounce at our low part of this range, and sure, we broke out to the upside, broke down to the downside. Remember, this was news related. But we're clearly sort of in a range, so I want to trade this. I want to see what happens as we come down here, and will it be support or are we going to break lower? The dollar franc is putting in lower lows. Our last time we came up here to the 50, made a new low. We were not able to come back up to the 50. We weren't even able to come up to the 20. And we put in a new wick low. There still could be some room to go here on this one. What I would watch for on here is to see what's going on over on the hourly chart. And I will watch this 20 moving average to see if we're going to break lower to come down to, again, the wick lows here. Certainly if you're aggressive, there is a little bit going on here. If we were to draw our uptrend line from where we were, depending on how you draw it, one way or another, you probably would have drawn it here. And this candle that we're in right now, the 60-minute candle right now, is breaking that uptrend line. So there is a trade setting up to the downside, but we have to be cautious because, again, on the daily from yesterday, we can see that buyers did come in and say that there is value. So we have to be careful before we go all out short. And finally, the dollar Canadian. And on the dollar Canadian, a clear downtrend. And just like our last pair, the buyers came in and said they see value. At this point, I think it's a similar situation. We could draw an uptrend line on our 60-minute to see if we have a break of that to go short. But I like that this pair did make its way back to the 20 moving average on the daily and made a new low. So I would wait before I would short this one again. You know, high probability trading is all about dual time frame agreement. Next, we are switching to our pound currency, starting off with the pound franc. Here we have a clear downtrend on our daily chart. We have a clear downtrend. We also see a area of support being put in, possibly a higher low being put in. However, even with that, and with a potential aggressive entry to go long at 1.4653 above our 2 wicks here, that is aggressive. What that's looking at is we have this big red candle to test our support, and now we're taking out half that candle and more. So we have an aggressive long above these two candles. However, it's counter trend, so you have to keep that in mind, and that will get us potentially up to the 20 moving average. But it is counter trend, so you have to be cautious about that, and cautious about if you're doing something like that. I'd probably go in with a tight stop, or I would come down here to the 20 moving average and hide my stop below the 20 moving average. Our pound yen is in almost sort of a wedge here. As I look at the daily and sort of draw an uptrend here, and then come over here to our last high here and draw that down. And so you can see this has to start to want to resolve itself one way or the other. The 60-minute chart is just choppiness. So, you know, I really don't see a high probability trade on this one. Even the last one that we mentioned about, that was an aggressive entry. This one, I do want to see it resolve one way or the other outside of this box, this wedge that we're forming. But I just don't see the trade yet. The pound dollar in uptrend, making new highs on the daily. And so it's kind of, as we talked about on our first currency pair, what was resistance should now be support. We can see on the 60-minute that we're starting to consolidate. Our bands are starting to pinch, even actually almost indicating that it wants to go lower. So I would go ahead and identify this ledge that we're putting in here, and I will watch that and see if we're going to break lower here. Again, a little aggressive. Why? Because we're in an uptrend and we're talking about a short, so we don't have dual time frame agreement. But perhaps we do want to pull back a little bit and see and test this former resistance before we make a new high. As we try to formulate our low volatility watch list and inside of our watch list, we kind of saw that we had no stocks set up as a low volatility candidate on our 1 hour Bollinger Band setup. And we also didn't have any inside bars today, so we have no low volatility trading setups that we're going to watch, and we also have no inside bar watch list we're going to watch. Let's go ahead to our forex site to look at the economic calendar, see what trades can be affected from today's video. And we can see at our forex.fo website that we don't have a lot on the economic calendar, and this is obviously a great time to remind everybody that we do have many of our international banks being closed for the Easter holiday. Certainly want to wish everybody a happy Easter. And also know that because of that, there may be many traders not trading. With light volume trading, a lot of weird things can happen because things can move the market on that light volume. So guys, with that being said, thanks, and I'll see you next time.